What's up, gangsters? How about 10 minutes of random? Okay, so here we go with some random stuff. After I did my review, or whatever you want to call it, of the really cool stuff from Anna's, Tom sent me some more things. He whipped up these hydraulic line connectors, which I don't know if you can really say what scale they are, but you get 90 of them, and they are also really cool, just like all of the other stuff that he's doing. He also sent me the 0.4 millimeter cord that I had mentioned, and you can see that's really nice. There, I think the light catches that pretty good. So that's really small, and that's got the potential, for some really cool detailing stuff. Speaking of detailing stuff, I've been doing a lot of detail work. I've continued to work my way around the nose on this Spitfire, and it's been way more difficult than I expected it to be, honestly. In fact, after my last installment, somebody asked me if I still love Tamiya kits, and the answer is absolutely. I think this was their first 1/32nd thing that they did where they attempted to do something like this, and it's ambitious no matter what. Molding stuff that's as thin as these cowling pieces are is just a challenge under all circumstances. But I have managed to get the left side and the chin piece on, and I think in pretty good shape. You can kind of see right down there where I've closed up the gap and re-riveted it, and I think looks pretty good down there. The next part of the challenge, though, has been getting the right side cowling on, and you can see that's in progress. I've just been kind of working at that. I've been a little distracted, but you can see what I'm doing there. It's just a little bit small all the way around, and it's got a little bit of an angled gap on this part. So you can see that what I've been doing is adding a strip of, that's 15,000 square styrene that I've been welding to the edge of the thing, and it's challenging, and probably going to lose a few more of these Zeus fasteners before it's all said and done, but it is what it is. I've looked at some other ones, like I said before, I think, and it seems like a lot of people have had the same types of gaps that I have, so that makes me feel a little bit better, because the whole thing was really causing me to question my competence, and I think that, I don't know, part of it is just my own unwillingness to compromise and allow for the gap to be a little bit bigger than I want it to be. It is what it is. I just don't want to do that. I don't want to compromise, and it's not just because this is being built for somebody else. This is, I would be crazy about this type of thing no matter what. So, it is what it is. It's just, you have to decide what your standards are and work towards that, and deal with the results of that decision. Anyway, what I've been distracted by is I've just been having a lot of fun with and working a lot on my Flying Tiger bust. I've just put the finishing touches on him, and I think I can say that he's done, which is cool and fun, because I haven't finished anything in quite a while. So I am going to probably photograph him in a few days and do a complete video on that. There's not really a lot to say on this as far as kit review goes, because it literally has 5 pieces. But I think I'm going to try and turn it into a little bit of a how-to on painting it. Not that I think I'm really qualified to teach anybody how to do figure painting, because I really am not. I'm like literally the last guy that should be telling anybody how to do figures, because I'm still learning myself. But people have been asking me, and I am kind of starting to get a little bit of a recipe going. This is only the second one of these resin figures that I've done, but I am kind of starting to get a little bit of a recipe going, and honestly, explaining that to you guys is part of what helps me get it cemented in my head, and that will help me next time. So I'll talk just for a second about it here, because I have like nearly 5 minutes left in my 10 minutes of random. Anyway, you can see what's happening here. This is how I do all of the color mixing for my oils. I use a sheet of this medium weight matte photo paper, and I do that for a couple of reasons. One, I have lots of it. It's cheap. Two, it's white, so I can really see how the colors look. You know, everything is on equal footing. It does leach the oils out, which for figure painting I don't really want so much. So that's a bit of a disadvantage. It's a little different than when you're using oils for weathering purposes. When you actually need the paint to move around smoothly the way you do when you're actually painting with them, you don't want those oils to be gone. And in fact, sometimes I end up adding linseed oil back to it to get it to the right consistency. And you can see that where I've done that here. And you know, it's not the kind of thing where I can tell you how much, because with oils, it's all about feel, and you just have to, you know, sort of figure out what's going to work given your technique, given the brush you're using, and what it is you're trying to accomplish. What I ended up using the linseed oil mixture for the most was in doing things like outlining. Like, for example, I've got a black outline all the way around his flying tiger patch, and I want to be able to paint that black outline really smoothly, and I want it to be pretty opaque, and so mixing the linseed oil with the oil paint gives me the perfect mixture for that. It doesn't flow like a wash, but you don't want it to. You want to actually be able to draw the line on there with a little tiny brush. So that's been working pretty good. The brushes that I've been using for this kind of stuff, in case anybody's curious, are these Winsor Newton Series 7. But these are the miniature style. They have two types. The other type has a longer tip on it, but for me, for moving oil paints around where you really only want paint on the tip of the brush anyway, this miniature style is for me is better anyway. So you can kind of see how this works for me. It's not very scientific. You know, it seems like a lot of the figure painters who use acrylics have real specific recipes for how they mix their paints, and that's great. If you can remember them, if you have all the colors, if you can, you know, if you like using acrylics, that's one advantage, I suppose, of that strategy. But I can't and don't. I do it by eye until it looks the way I want it to. I have developed a little bit of a flesh tone recipe, at least for, you know, the average white dude, and I will talk about that when I do the video on this thing. But yeah, I had to do some of that yesterday for some touch-ups, and you can kind of see that progression where I work from the basic flesh tone to the highlights and the mids and the shadows. And I am starting to kind of get a consistent recipe for that, so that's good. I also got a cool thing to finish this off and make him look good, and that's this little base that I just got some oil paint on from picking that palette up. Anyway, these are really, really nice. These are from Last Cavalry. These are Padauk, which is a very, very hard Brazilian wood that's got a great color to it. And they cost like $25, which for me is fine, because this is totally a convenience product. It looks really classy. It's already done. You don't have to stain it or varnish it or anything. All you have to do is drill a hole in the top of it, and it's ready to go. So I love these things, and I'm happy to pay the $25 for them. And they get them to you in a couple of days. One thing that I like to do is, because the hole is not going to be perfectly centered up or the exact size, I use a 3/8 inch flat washer that I paint black and then super glue on there as kind of a collar to just make it look a little neater. So that's what that's all about. So anyway, that is definitely 10 minutes. So that's enough. Adios.